with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. We broadcast live on YouTube, on X, on Roku, and on Fire TV. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. It is Tuesday, April 29th, 2025, and that means so many things. First, it is the day after the best day in the world, my lovely fiance Juliana's birthday. Second, it's a Tuesday, which means third, it is a Hockey with Rocky extravaganza for the people. Yeah, stay tuned, because in 5 minutes, when you hear that again, you're going to hear some of the best NHL, NFL, NASCAR, and other takes you have ever received. But before we get to Rocky, we remind you, it is The Rome Show 1 on Instagram, X, Facebook, TikTok, whatever the social media is, or you follow our mothership, 12OZ Sports, on any of the social media sites as well. Got it straight off the Rome for you today. Before we get Rocky involved, that has to do with officiating, and I cannot stand it. We'll get to that in a second. Then when Rocky joins us, we got a lot to talk about, because the National Hockey League playoffs first round has been wild, including one side of the brackets. Every game was tied at 2-2 at one point in time. So we got to break that down. We have some questions for Rocky. And then if we have time, we'll talk hardwood. But all you really need to know there is one more series was finalized. That was yesterday, where the Cleveland Cavaliers put the biggest win in Cleveland Cavaliers history in the postseason, and possibly the NBA history, on the Miami Heat. So without further ado, let me go straight off the Rome. All right. I got to be honest with everyone here, because if you know me, you know that I am already not a big fan of officials or umpires, okay? I was born with this weird something inside of me that says no matter what, I can't trust them as far as I can throw them. And it doesn't matter the sport, doesn't matter the context. I do not like officials. If I was a teacher and they were in my class, their grade would always start at a B+, and we'd go from there. Well, the NBA has been doing something that I despise. They come out after games and they say what calls they missed. And to be honest with you, I think it's the stupidest thing ever, because all you're going to do is piss people off more. So now you're going to come out and you're going to tell me that at 114, 113, with Luka Doncic and the ball, Luka gets tripped. It's up on your screen right now. Okay. Luka gets tripped. All right. I'm going to pause it at the spot of the trip just for the people, because we want to make sure we all understand what we're looking at here. Right there. Okay, there's Luka getting tripped. So now they say no foul. Luka gets called for a travel. Minnesota goes to the line. Once they hit two, now it's 116, 113. You call this foul. Luka goes to the line. I'm going to assume Luka hits both, at least one of them, and you're either tied or you're up one on your final defensive stand. Then the NBA comes out, or the day before they had come out and they had said at the end of the Knicks and the Pistons game, which is up on your screen, you'll see in the corner 3 right here, Josh Hart hits Tim Hardaway Jr. No call. The head coach of the Pistons is absolutely irate, as he should be. Don't you worry. My editorial abilities pre-show will cut this back to Josh Hart, and you'll see it one more time. Here it is. Right here. Bump. No call. That would be going to the line at 94-93 with a chance for 3 free throws to win the game with under 5 seconds remaining. I cannot deal with the officiating crews or the leagues coming out after and saying, wow, we missed that call. I got 2 ideas for you. Either A, get the call right. Okay. Why do we have instant replay? What is the purpose? Okay. If the purpose is to double check and make sure we get every call right, why is it that at the end of a game, an important game, the most important games, it's the postseason? Why is it that officiating crews, most specifically the NBA, which is atrocious at officiating consistently compared to any sport, it goes, in my opinion, NBA, then NFL, then MLB, then NHL. And stick with us for 2 minutes, because I know Rocky's got some opinions on the NHL officiating as well. But why do we have instant replay if then in the final 2 minutes of the most important games of the year, we're going to come back and say, oh no, we missed that call, when in actuality, we should just look at everything. Okay? There should be the opportunity for any coach to ask if you can go to instant replay on that play. Final 2 minutes of every game, no matter the sport, no matter what. I don't care how many challenges they do or they don't have. Okay? That's the first thing. How? Okay? The second thing is don't say anything. So, A, make your officiating better, whether that is getting your officials actually better or using replay better, or B, just don't say anything. Let me and the other talking heads out there complain about whether it was a call or it wasn't a call, and then don't say anything. Because in my opinion, as the NBA coming out and saying, we missed that call, that's worse. I don't see how that's positive at all for anybody. The only thing that does is piss people off. There's not one person that comes out and says, oh, dude, you know what? The Lakers are down 3-1 right now because of that call. Maybe not because of that call. I mean, hell, their coach didn't play anyone but 5 players in the second half, but we're not getting into that today, or we won't see Rocky on the show. At the end of the day, it's like, how is that making anyone feel better? So I cannot stand it. I am asking for 2 things here, specifically from the NBA, but I think every sport can get better at this. Use replay better. Look at the USFL or the UFL. Whatever the hell that league is that the Rock's running right now. The XFL, it's a letter and then FL, okay? Spring football. You can challenge and replay anything. You thought that spot was bad? Challenge it. You thought that wasn't a flag? Challenge it. Do it. That should be every sport. And yeah, there's got to be some guidelines here. I get it. You can't challenge 406 plays. But last 2 minutes of the game, any coach should be able to ask an official to go to the monitor, like on Tuesdays when I asked Rocky to come on the show and talk about all the things we need to talk about. Now, inside the glass, hockey with Rocky.
Good morning, everybody. Who will I be today? Let's see. I'm going to be Gabriel Landeskog. Scored my first goal back after a 3-year stint. How about that?
I like that. I was wondering if you were gonna be one of those Dallas Stars yesterday that had an elite offensive day to put the series at 3-2.
Dude, 6-2 winning, and I thought the Avs might come back, but Dallas Stars proving to be living up to the hype that they had coming in here to the playoffs.
It's tough to give up a goal 9 seconds into the game and be able to bounce back. That's I don't know if I've ever experienced that, Rocky, but wow.
It sucks. It sucks. But the early lead, I think, is sometimes the best to come back from.
Yeah, you got 59 minutes.
You got plenty of time, and like a lot of the case, it's like one team was like way more overhyped, and like the other team just like settles in and just like takes the whole game back.
Yeah, I guess I would have to assume, Rocky, it's got to be like giving up a leadoff homer. Like, all right, let's saddle in here, bomb.
Yeah, I mean, you got 27 outs still to go. I mean, you're in good shape. Like you know, and you haven't even batted yet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Can you give me your thoughts on the officiating and both my thoughts on what I was talking about on the NBA, and then your thoughts on what you've seen so far in the postseasons?
I just instant replay is actually the worst thing that ever happened to officials, because everyone for the history of sports understood that human error was a part of being an official.
Sure.
So you're sitting there and you're like, no, like, okay, it's part of the game. I don't need an explanation. Like they missed a call, they got it, they didn't, whatever. Like you're not gonna, outside of someone getting truly injured, did it really have to go back to replay? And then, you start replaying only scoring plays in the NFL, which I find fascinating because, you know, you have to score in order for it to be a scoring play. Yet, if you call a penalty when you score and you overturn it, you can't review it, which doesn't make sense because you scored. Um, so you start drawing these lines as to what's replayable and what isn't, and now it takes human error out of the game. And now you're sitting there, well, like, what do I say? What's right? Do I say what's wrong? No, you just messed the game up. So don't
Right.
say anything. I'm
Yeah,
all in
save
on
it cut.
that.
Yeah.
Like
It's
you
like change
saw
the
what you
rules on
saw.
replay or
Like
keep it
just
cut.
either be true with your conviction. You either saw it this way or you didn't, and like stay with it. But the instant replay before instant replay used to be for officiate officials to learn and pay attention to what they missed so that they don't miss it again. Now it's like I don't even have to be right half the time because it don't
Yeah.
matter.
Well, that's a really good point. And I wonder if that's why there's also been such a decline in officiating, is because in the back of their mind, they're probably second guessing themselves because the last thing they want probably is for somebody to throw a challenge flag and then even more so for them to be wrong. And I think that is affecting a lot of other things affect the officiating too. But it just, I found it very interesting. I read that report yesterday, Rocky. I'm like, this is a waste of time. Why would you do this? You're only going to piss more people off, and never thought about it from the human error standpoint. It's a great point.
Yeah, and from an officiating standpoint in the NHL, I typically am loving the officials of the
They're usually
NHL.
the best group.
I just feel like with the late hits, the high hits, and the cross checks and the cheap shots, when because people aren't fighting, they do all this stuff after and before the whistle. Like I just think that there's a level of inconsistency where referee A has his idea of what you let go in the playoffs. Referee B has his idea of what you let go in the playoffs, and you see different things across the series, and I think that makes it for I feel like there's more inconsistency now, and I'm probably wrong. Like it's probably like this every year, but I just feel like, and then I feel like once the league suspended Brandon Hagel for the Barkov hit, they set an unnecessary precedent because that guy doesn't get suspended. He's never been suspended. Barkov was going for the puck in the corner and didn't touch it. He didn't touch it, so he was already lined up. I don't understand why that was a game suspension. It was a shoulder to shoulder hit. I don't think the contact was with the head. I think it was a big blindside hit that was worthy of the 5 minute major. I don't think he needed to be suspended. Here you go into game three. Jake Gensel gets absolutely blindsided at center ice by Matthew Kachuk. 5 minute major, but now he's not getting suspended. Now you look at game four and Aaron Ekblad charges in on Hagel and forearm shivers him to the face. No penalty. And you're like, dude, I watched his forearm go to his
Yeah.
jaw.
Yeah, right.
Like, okay,
I
he
can
timed
see
the
that.
hit right, but like that's an elbow.
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, you're like, man, like, all right, I'm good with the inconsistency on the ice because it's the playoffs and people don't know how to toe the line. But now the league stepped in and suspended a guy, yet I've seen three hits just as bad since that and zero in-player hearings. And you're like, what are we doing?
It's like a
This isn't
combo.
this isn't the NHL's brand.
Yeah, well, I think, it's funny. Last week you came on here and you talked about how the Four Nations Cup changed a lot of things for the individual players. Rocky, could we see the officiating and the eyes looking at the game have changed slightly because of what happened in that Four Nations Cup too?
No, I just think that there is a standard in the regular season. If your stick goes vertical, or excuse me, horizontal to the ice, in and anywhere around a guy's hands, whether you hook him or not, you're getting a hooking penalty.
Yeah, oh yeah.
At this point, everyone knows, right? Like everyone knows it. They crack down, but like in the playoffs, you don't know what the line is because it changes with each officiating crew and it changes amongst the series. I mean, you just fined Montreal and Washington
All that.
$25,000 a piece for their antics. Why aren't the refs getting fined for letting that
Oh
melee
yeah,
even happen?
atrocious. I
I,
said to my assistant in the office, I said, how the hell did they even get into the bench? And how can we don't have officials anymore that can stop the extra? Like I can't stand it. Like I thought there was a line too where at some point in time it's like, all right, this thing's over, let's move on. Well, I get it. The human nature might not realize that, and the guys keep going. That's where the officials are supposed to be better at their job. That cannot happen. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, that's where and so listen, if you can be consistent in each series, you're fine. But I think the problem with the playoffs, I think that's really gotten me fired up was when they suspended Hagel because you haven't seen any suspensions anywhere else and you've seen hits just as bad. And
Yeah.
that's where I'm like, okay, well, now it's no longer this playoff thing. Now it's like,
What's the line?
what is the line? Because now the NHL stepped in on a non-offender.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So
I think that's the other part of it too is NHL comes in from their ivory tower and probably didn't need to touch that situation, then therefore makes the situation worse. And now you don't know.
I don't see how it's not when you're watching the hits that took place afterwards.
Yeah, no doubt. We are talking hockey with Rocky and Rocky here on 12OZsports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube, X, Roku, and Fire TV. Rocky, the larger version, though the little one can have an opinion here if he would like. It has been a wild postseason sans the officiating. Let's start in the Western Conference, dude, because it was now. I know we talked Dallas Stars winning yesterday and taking a 3-2 lead
Yeah.
on Colorado, but going into games fives in the left side of the bracket, it was as tight could get. That was awesome.
2-2 in every series, 3-1 in every series. Well, now on the Eastern side, but I think what you're seeing is really what the discrepancy was. West Coast, East Coast. When you look at the West, I mean, you had the Calgary Flames, who are the first team out. They had the same amount of points as the St. Louis Blues. They lost on a head-to-head. That was 96 points to 96 points. The last team out on the East was 91, so they had a 5-point jump. I just think you see the West had a stronger. And when you looked at, picking the East, I think everyone was in on Carolina being in the Eastern Conference final. Outside of that, it's either going to be Toronto, so like I just or Florida. Like I just don't know if many people, the depth in the East wasn't there, and it's being showcased. Whereas, I mean, LA is on the up and ups, right? They're defining
Yeah.
themselves as a serious contender. Their youth is maturing. They're great at defending, not so much defending a lead in the third period as we've seen this series. But Edmonton is established. They were in the final last year, high expectations. Vegas, high expectations, winning pedigree, and you got this scrappy Minnesota team that if you really think back to Minnesota, they were the best team in the league in the first 20% of the season, right? Colorado winning pedigree, Dallas, like really, this has been Dallas for the last 5 years. I mean,
If you look at the numbers, right, and what's the old adage? Numbers don't lie. Okay, I have the team statistics up. 4 of the top 5 teams in goals per game in the postseason right now come from the Western Conference side. Okay.
yep.
In terms of goaltending, however, 2 of the top 3 teams come from the Eastern Conference side. No surprise there, the Hurricanes and the Panthers. So that's the advantage of any team that's going to get through the East. They're going to have to slow down somebody offensively on the Western side. The top 5 power plays come from 4 of the 5 from the Western Conference. Also, if you look at it, the top goaltending statistics come from the East. Is there something there? Are we looking at better goaltending on one side and better offense on another, and we're going to have that come to a head at some point in this thing?
Well, I mean, you've got Hellebuck versus Bennington. I mean, so no, I don't think that there is a discrepancy. I think it just so happened that Vasilevsky played really, really good in the regular season and is up for the Vezina Trophy.
True.
I don't. I mean, think about it. You could say Bennington and Hellebuck on the West, but you could say Vasilevsky, and I mean, Shesterkin's not even in the playoffs.
Correct.
I mean, so I don't think that there's a discrepancy. I think what you really see in these moments is really the difference in GMs. You see the difference in GMs. I mean, you look at Edmonton, right? Number one scoring chance leader in the league, arguably the most questionable goaltending in the entire playoffs right now.
Mhm.
So like I just think what happens is it's not so much East Coast, West Coast, it's more like GM v GM.
If you look at it, the aforementioned Edmonton Oilers are scoring 4.5 goals a game in the postseason, but they're giving up 4.75. And I'm saying later on, take a look at the statistics. They flip on their head. Okay. When you look at goal scoring, it's a lot of goal scoring from the West. When you look at top goaltending, it's a lot in the East. And it was one of those things where I'm just looking at it and I'm going, you're right. It is a GM thing, but I think part of the GM thing plays into who do you got to play a lot? What are the type of teams you're going against? And I'll tell you what, it feels like I'm starting to believe in Carolina a lot because I think they can score, they can defend, and they can goaltend. And they have a really great head coach.
I mean, Carolina, I mean, I think Washington, if they can take care of Montreal, I think Washington's in for a tough second round matchup. If the Devils don't go one game at a time here and
I
dismantle
don't
the
think
Hurricanes.
I don't think they're going to go one game at a time here. As
Yeah,
much as I'd love to see it.
the Carolina is the most physical team in the NHL. They are they're one of the most defensively sound teams. Now, Vegas was the least penalized team, but Carolina is the most defensively sound, disciplined, hard-nosed hockey team on the East Coast, next to Florida. I think if you could, I think it's going to be exciting to see them play Washington. I'm not going to get ahead of it. We'll get into the second round when it's time, but I think you're right about Carolina.
I love that. All right, let's talk Pittsburgh Penguins. I know they're not in the postseason, but I said to you in our pre-show meeting, it's an end of an era. Can you please talk about Coach Sullivan being fired and the next steps here for Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's an interesting spot for the Penguins. I mean, you know they have to retool a bit. Crosby, Malkin, Chris Letang, they're all towards the end of their career. Um, but I mean, Mike Sullivan was a back-to-back Stanley Cup winner early on in his tenure with the Penguins, and he's done a great job. I don't necessarily think that he needs to be removed as much as they need to retool the depth of their players. I think Kyle Dubas is probably more under the microscope on that team than anyone else. Um, but ultimately, like 10 years in the NHL is really in any professional sport is a long
That's
time.
impressive.
So maybe a stale, but again, Mike Sullivan's being courted by easily the Rangers. That's what everyone believes that he's going to be the Rangers head coach. Um, Now here's the irony about that. His current assistant
We like
coach
that for the Rangers.
His current assistant coach, David Quinn. Who's David Quinn?
Former Rangers head coach. And wasn't he the BU guy? Was that the
Yeah,
BU guy?
yeah. They're all BU guys, so that's why they know Drury. They're all Boston guys. Like
Maybe we should get away from
they're all
that.
New England guys.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah,
and
not Boston, New England.
Mike Sullivan is also the head coach of Team USA hockey. And do you know who his assistant coach was at USA?
It's got to be somebody else associated with the Rangers organization.
John Tortorella.
There it is.
So
But he's
here's the
associated with
irony. Could
organizations
you
in the league.
imagine if Mike? So the funny, it's like everyone like. Could you imagine if Mike Sullivan comes in and then brings Torts and David Quinn with him back?
Be very funny. I
Which I
mean,
don't think. Yeah,
I think the David Quinn one's more possible than the Torts one.
yeah. I think. Well, they also didn't let go of Michael Pekka and Dan Muse because they're their youth. They represent the youth on that coaching staff, and I do think that was a smart decision. And I'm hoping there's a spot for both of them. I also like. I think Mike Sullivan is the best veteran option for the Rangers. But again, like David Carlisle or Carl just backed out of the Chicago job. He's got ties to Philly. I mean, I love that pick. I love that. I would want that guy like first. But I'm also intrigued by like Michael Pekka stepping into his first head coaching role as well. So again, like if it's not Mike Sullivan, it's got to be someone who can appeal to the youth. That's all,
Yeah.
and will be willing to play the youth.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I mean, and if you look across all four primary professional sports leagues right now, even in high level college athletics, that is becoming the thing. It is a different generation of athlete that is coming up now. And to have, you said this like 2 weeks ago when the firings really started to happen, and you said it's the change of the old guard and we're flying into the new guard. That's every sport right now, Rocky, and it's important. And it's not to say that if you're over 40 years old you shouldn't get a job anymore. No, that's not the case either. It's just the fact that it's a relatability thing. It's, can you get through to your players thing? Do you understand their generation thing? And I think, to your point about Pekka, that's got to be what every organization is looking for if they're making a coaching change.
No, yeah, no doubt. Are you able to handle Travis Hunter dancing on stage?
I was just about to say, speaking of coaching changes, a lot of changes are coming from the New York Giants, and coaching change isn't one of them, nor was GM change. However, I personally felt like they had a fantastic draft. Now, I'm not letting you leave this show until I get your opinion on the G-men in the 2025 NFL draft.
I didn't know if we were going to start or end, so I'm happy with
the end. We're ending there.
By the way, just a quick note on hockey. I mean, what an incredible ramp up. The end of these series is the next week is going to be fascinating. By the way, Saturday, Sunday, 1, 3:30, 5, 7. Great execution by the NHL on Saturday, Sunday from that standpoint.
Finally.
That's my last word there.
You finally did it. Good schedule.
Whereas great viewing pleasure is the NHL playoffs, terrible viewing pleasure is the NFL draft.
Oh, I agree.
Oh my God. The amount of people the NFL employ that never touch a field just for the draft is just ridiculous.
And the people that go to it, it's asinine.
It's crazy. McAfee was like, we need it to be 7 minutes with an option for an extra 2. I was like, I'll take that. Yeah. I'm just like, you've been thinking about this pick for the last 6 months. Like, why do we need 15
like fantasy football? You get a minute and that's it. Next guy, minute, next guy.
So,
that's it.
Fantasy football is actually my take on the quarterback thing.
Okay.
Just so you know, so I've got a watch party. I've got 2 TVs because there's hockey games on. I've got the iPad and I've got, dad's in the garage for the draft night. And, we're like 9, 10 picks in, and one of my buddies is like, hey, there's no quarterbacks. Like, there's no quarterbacks. Like, where are all the quarterbacks? This is crazy. So now we're like at pick. And as we're getting into the teens, like, there's no quarterbacks. There's only one quarterback. He's like, this is the first time in draft history we don't have any quarterbacks. This is incredible. Like, going just bananas, right? So next thing you know, Giants trade up. It was kind of similar to your bus story yesterday. Everyone's like, oh, what's going to happen? It's quarterback time. Jackson Dart obviously gets selected, so we're pumped. But so I'll talk about the Giants in a second, but I wanted to make this point on the quarterbacks. I think what we're seeing is what me and you talk about every year. There's got to be 75% busts.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at the history, at least 75% bust.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe
you're
just smart finally.
Yeah, I mean, they're finally learning what we all learned in fantasy 15 years ago. Was that it's not about having 2 quarterbacks.
Correct.
You need 2 running backs who can catch passes and touch the ball 35
2 wide
times
receivers, a good tight end. I mean, you need a kicking game. Like,
they took a quarterback in the 5th round. That's when fantasy quarterbacks get drafted. I mean, it's starting to line up.
It's so true. It's so funny because all I kept saying to people was, I can't believe Shador. I said it's going to be the best thing for him. He probably got drafted exactly where he was supposed to get drafted. And if you think about it, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, even all these other guys probably got drafted way earlier than, in theory, their talent level comparative to other players should be, but they play the quarterback position.
I just where was Quinn Ewers?
He got drafted by the Dolphins in the 7th round.
Exactly. How come no one cares about that?
Will Howard, 6th round, Pittsburgh Steelers.
These guys were in the national championship game.
I know, but that just goes to show you the difference. And whether that difference is right or wrong, I don't know. Me and you think it's wrong. But the way that they assess these kids coming out of college, it's like so drastically different than the game almost being played in college.
You're seeing how hard it is to scout. You see it at both levels of college. The NIL people who don't know how to talent recruit the high schoolers, right? You talked about both Cam, Scadaboo, and Ward yesterday, like completely getting undersized before college. Now they're going to be great NFLers, great college athletes, and now you're seeing the same way. I mean, you want to know the best part about Mel Kiper's rant is that people are finally realizing that he's been a fraud this entire time.
and and it's not even that. And fraud might be harsh, but I appreciate your energy.
Totally harsh.
It's probably but you're right. It's essentially like, wait, have we put way too much stock in this? Yes, you have put way too much stock in this. Mel Kiper's
Absolutely.
7.0 mock draft should be thrown out the window, and we should never do a mock draft ever again. That's what that proved to me this year.
Absolutely not. And then finally, the Giants absolutely loved it. I thought they set up the Jackson Dark pick beautifully,
Yeah.
right? They get Jameis, they get Russell, they get people off their back for sniffing a quarterback on the first pick. I'm
Yeah.
actually, listen, as much as I want Travis Hunter's talent,
Yeah.
I am juiced about the front five with Abdul Carter on the defensive line. Like I mean, OCU Manura, Michael Strahan, shades of that feeling now. And then they trade up to get Jackson Dart. I thought was just great. It was a really really good move. I love that he's not going to start. I like that even better. Give all Dable has to do now is is coach a good season.
Yep.
So that he can work with Jackson Dart for more than a year. But if
Yeah.
Dable screws up in-game play calling and gets himself fired, then the pick means nothing.
Exactly
It
right.
means absolutely nothing. So that's what I'm thinking about there. And then, dude, when I turned on my phone and we got Camp Scatabo, I mean, I watched one Arizona State game this year, and it was the dude puking all over the field,
Oh
like
yeah.
literally willing his team into a chance to win that game. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that's who we just got. You got as
Yeah.
many yards as Christian
Fourth
McCaffrey.
round. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. 100%. And as you know, because we love chip on the shoulder type people, he is a chip on the shoulder type guy. Under
Absolutely.
recruited, and I watched an interview with him last week, and it was like it was someone said, "Oh, it was why you do the Heisman post." So it was in the beginning, it was during the year, but I saw it last week. He said, "Why do you do the Heisman post after every touchdown?" He goes, "Because I want to let everyone know that I'm the best running back in the nation." I was like, "Dude,
Yes.
that's
Absolutely.
what I want." So
Yeah.
kudos. We've crushed the G-Men a lot on this show, Rocky, and I just wanted to say kudos to the law firm of Shane and Gable, because I think that they did a fantastic job in setting the team up better heading into the 2025 season.
Great work making the other Rocky Romanella happy, Giants.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
They tightened their lug nuts on that one. All right. Final thought. Go get them.
Final thought. You mentioned the video on Camp Scatabo saying that I want everyone to know I'm the best. Well, the video of Cam Ward telling Shador that he wants to be known as an American footballer, just as good.
Awesome. I don't want to make music. I'm a football player.
Love. And by the way, final piece, because you talked about it yesterday, and in defense of Shador Sanders, if you're going to tell me that the guy's social media presence is too much for you, then take a walk, because Saquon Barkley was in Dunkin' Donuts commercials before he even touched a New York Giants football pad. So
Correct.
Everyone does it. Baker Mayfield, where they all did
Sanchez,
it. They're all doing it. Stop. But Sanchez was in like the Chiefs commercial, like signing the, and it's Eli Manning. Like, get out of here. They're all getting their money from advertisements.
Yeah.
Stop being dumb. You didn't want to take the guy to the 5th round because you were worried that he was actually good or not. Like, let's just be serious.
That could have been the best take you've ever had on this show.
I'm here for the people.
Rocky Romanella, everyone, every Tuesday. He joins the people. Rocky, you have a fantastic Tuesday.
See you later. Go hockey.
Go. I love it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that would be what we call the Rome Show here on 12OZ Sports. Thank you, Rocky, for your fantastic takes and your great energy. We're back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Until then, Andrew Romanella saying, peace.
Thank you for listening.